Hi everybody, and welcome to our Enhanced webinar in conjunction with eOne this morning on SmartList Suite for Dynamics GP, and this is all about understanding your options. Just in terms of the team today, my name is Matt Evans-Pease from Enhance. My role here is Chief Customer Officer, and I'm delighted to be joined by Madeline Woolery, who is our Partner Development Manager over at eOne Solutions. And Madeline will be talking through the majority of the content for today's webinar. Just before we sort of go through the agenda, I'm just going to go through just some simple housekeeping tips really. We're expecting the webinar today to last between 30 to 40 minutes. We will be recording the webinar as well, so anyone that is registered will get a copy of this on demand, so they can watch this back in the future. Feel free to, of course, forward this on to any of your colleagues. We will keep all participants on listen-only mode for the duration of the webinar, but if you do have any questions, you should see a Q&A box at the top of your screen, so feel free to pop any questions in the Q&A chat, and as Madeline is talking, I will collate any questions and we'll deal with those at the end. So just in terms of what we're actually going to cover today on the agenda, we're just going to clarify what's actually included in your SmartList Suite, and then we'll go a little bit more into what is SmartList Builder, SmartView and Popdock in terms of demonstration. We'll talk through pricing, and then we'll go through free trials that are available before kind of coming on to Q&A, and then at the end I'll just talk to you a little bit about some upcoming events that we're running here at Enhance. So that kind of takes you to the end of the introduction. I'll now pass over to Madeline, who will take you through the content of the presentation. Over to you, Madeline.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Matt, for the introduction, and to everyone joining us today. I'm looking forward to talking to you about all the latest changes to eOne's pricing, and we'll go over what's new with the Popdock business subscription, otherwise known as the SmartList Suite. As you may know, though, earlier this year, eOne made a significant announcement that we're committed to supporting and investing in our GP customers for the next 10 years. We've heard from many of you that while some are considering transitioning off of GP, others plan to remain on it. So if you're unsure of when to make that switch, no matter what, we want you to know that in your journey, that our message is clear and that we have your back and will support you for the next 10 plus years. So we want to ensure that you don't have to worry about your GP add-on products going away while you're making your decision on when to move ERPs. This is going to include support for SmartList Builder, SmartView, Extender, SmartPost, and any of the GP products that you may have. But over the last 10 years, we've been investing in product development into taking your favorite SmartList capabilities with you to the cloud. This means that GP can still be a core part of your technology stack, but you can start to use Popdock and Smart Connect to integrate with the rest of your apps, or when you do decide to move ERPs, they're going to be products that hopefully you can bring with you. So shortly, we're going to take a deeper look at each of these three products, but first I wanted to go through what exactly the SmartList Suite is. When we announced our commitment to supporting GP products for the next 10 plus years, we also bundled these three products underneath the Popdock business subscription, otherwise known as the SmartList Suite. So this is going to include SmartList Builder, the tool that you use to create and modify existing smart lists within GP. Next, there'll be SmartView, a tool that allows you to view your smart lists inside or outside of Dynamics GP on your desktop to create favorites, filters, group, and more. And then lastly, there's Popdock, a combination of the best of both products and SmartList Builder for all your apps. When it comes to all of eOne's products, we keep in mind these key features. The first pillar of our development is that everything has to be user-driven. What we mean by this is that we want to take the requirement for IT resources and developers out of the process and put as much power back into the hands of the end users as we can. The next is real time. In the ever-changing business world, end users and your customers need answers fast and in real time. So we're going to do this by every time you're selecting to refresh, we're calling back into the system that you need answers from right away. The next will be everything needs to be interactive. Now, what we mean by this is we want things like go-tos or having the ability to move columns around and the ability for you to ask questions about your data. Each end user may want to view their data in a different way or asking different questions. So we want our products to be end user friendly and interactive enough for you to be able to investigate the data how you want. And then lastly, this data needs to be accessible from everywhere. You may have remote workers, people in other time zones, and that data needs to be accessible. Now this is more applicable on the Popdock side, where we have 60 plus connectors and a cloud-based application. But even with SmartList Builder and SmartView, you're seeing data from everywhere in GP. And then lastly, you want to present that data when and where you need it. With SmartView, you'll have the ability to view this data outside of GP, or with Popdock, you can embed your favorite SmartList in pretty much any system out there. Now we're going to take a look into each products included in the SmartList Suite, but before we do, I'd like to point out that I won't give full presentation on each products, but I really want you to understand what each product does and some of the key features that apply to our conversation today. So since this was the first product that eOne released and what is most commonly known, I wanted to start with SmartList Builder. As I mentioned earlier, SmartList Builder allows users to create new smart lists or modify existing smart lists using all of the data available to them within their GP environment. So to get to SmartList Builder, I'm going to go ahead and click on my menu up here. Now, one thing a lot of people don't actually know is that SmartList Builder is 3 different products blended together. There's SmartList Builder, which I'll go through today, but it also includes Excel Report Builder and Navigation List Builder. Excel Report Builder allows you to build refreshable Excel reports without having to know code. You can simply come in and with a SmartList Builder-like interface, build yourself a refreshable Excel report. And then there's Navigation Lists, a part of GP not a lot of people actually know about, but is quite powerful. If I come in and take a look, for example, at this little menu up here, this is the Navigation List, and it allows me to do quite a bit of work. I can do things like build a new journal entry, and it's just going to be a good way for me to work with my GP data. SmartList Builder includes the ability to build new navigation lists or update the navigation lists that are here to give you new fields and new functionality. As I mentioned though, we're going to dig more into SmartList Builder itself, just so you can get a good sense of what the features are like within it. So I'm not going to build a new one from scratch, but I'm going to pull up an existing smart list that I have. And now the first thing to note here is if you notice on the left-hand side, we have the ability to pull in any of the tables from GP. So when I click on this drop-down list, I can choose GP tables. And from here, I can pull in any tables within my environment. Now I really want to define the word any. In your GP environment, you may have some modifications that you've built using Dexterity over the years, or you may have ISV solutions that you've purchased, and all of those are listed here within my environment. So you're going to be able to pick up any of those products from GP. I can then choose my series within it, and then I'll choose which table from that series that will link back to other tables within my report. And the other thing to note is that all of these table names are in plain English. So this isn't account master filter 4. This is not GL0010, whatever it is that would be at the back end or the database level. So when you're building these queries, you don't necessarily need to understand the naming convention that they have at the database level. You can also see here, we do have the ability to include SQL as well. So any table or view or scripts that you have inside of your GP environment can be used as well. And then we also have the ability to create calculated fields. So when I come up here and click on calculated fields, you can see that I have the ability to create any calculated field that I might need to create. And then if you also notice up here, we'll have go-tos. Now go-tos are what allow you to take your smart list and navigate to other parts of GP. And maybe it's opening up a different smart list, but this is really what's going to give SmartList Builder its power and what makes it unique out there still in the marketplace after 25 years. Now, when we come into these actions, you can see that we're going to be creating no-code solutions. So I have the ability, for example, to open a particular window. I can click here to see which window we're going to be opening. or what value set we've set within that window. Additionally, if I want to add columns to my list, I'm simply going to click on the display checkbox here, and now it's included. It will also be included in my list of fields whenever my user clicks on Add New, and if I want it to be part of my default, I can click on the checklist to the right. I can even start to reorder my default list, so I can move those columns up and down and make that list how I want it to display for those end users. And when I'm done making these changes to my SmartList, I'll have the ability to save it, and now it's going to be deployed right away. There's nothing else I'm going to have to do. I don't have to go client to client to get that deployed. It's just there in my SmartList, and I can control it through existing GP security. So I can assign a task that has access to the new SmartList or the SmartList that I've already modified, and then I can assign that task to a role. And now my users have access to it accordingly. So there's a number of features that allow you to get down into the nitty-gritty of building a SmartList, but hopefully you can get a sense of the flexibility and simplicity here. And again, going back to those pillars that I talked about earlier, you can have an average user come in here and build a SmartList from scratch. You can make those SmartLists interactive, and SmartLists are always going to be in real time. So it's all of those key pillars that we talked about earlier, and they're going to be available to you through SmartList Builder. Now, I know I said earlier how great SmartLists are, and I truly do believe that, but it does have its own limitations. For example, I can only have 4 filter components. If I want to pivot the data in any way, shape, or form, I have to drop it out to Excel. So there are a few shortcomings within the experience of SmartList Builder, and then this is when eOne decided to create SmartView. So to get to SmartView, we're going to come up here to the menu and select SmartView. And now I'm going to be able to maximize this on my screen. And a couple of things that I like to point out straight off the bat are the interface differences. For example, one of the biggest complaints about SmartList is that you don't get to control the real estate on the window. Whereas with SmartView, I can come in here, I can go to my sales and choose sales line items, for example. And I'm going to have the ability to do things like expand the different columns that I see on the side. So I can make them bigger if I'm not seeing all the words. I can make them smaller. And as some of you may be aware with SmartList today, to do that is actually going to take a couple of mouse clicks. And if I wanted to, I could even come up here to my options. And if I know I'm on the right list that I want to work with, I don't have to look at the list section at all. I don't even have to look at the list of my columns. I can just start to work with the data and own the entire screen. So we've really designed it so that it's a little bit easier for you to use. And if you notice as well, I've got my columns on the right here. And now I can drag and drop any of those columns that I want added easily. So I can drag allow back orders, for example, out into my list. And now it's one of my columns and immediately added and refreshed. Again, it's going to be fewer mouse clicks. And did you notice how quickly that loaded? So when I come here and click on refresh, it's order of magnitude quicker than the average SmartList builder. There's many stories that we've heard over the years of people who have that SmartList. They come in the morning, they'll click on it, open, go grab their coffee, chit chat, and then they'll come back and they'll check to see if it's done yet. And for that reason, SmartList Builder is actually reading record by record. So if you have tens of thousands of records, it's going to take a while to load, whereas SmartView is doing it all at once, and it's going to pull in a much more efficient way. Now let's talk about filtering. So I can come up here and I can click on Edit Filter, and just like that, you're going to get past those 4 filter limitations and have an unlimited amount of filters that you can add. It's got a little bit more power as well, as you can start to use things like is not between, is an option. You can put a list of non-consecutive values or say not one of. So you're going to have that ability to be very, very thorough in the queries that you're looking to answer. You can even start to mix and match your ands or ors. So I can very quickly add a new group here if I wanted and make this an and or instead of, and then I can go ahead and build that out. So from a query perspective, there's no more reason to go to IT and ask them to build you a SQL query because you need to add that 5th, 6th, or 10th filter parameter. Additionally, I'm going to have the ability to add favorites and start to consume my favorites. So on the right here, we can see that I have 2 saved. And another thing that I mentioned earlier is if I want to pivot this table in any way, typically in SmartList Builder, you'd have to drop that out to Excel first, but here I can do it right on the screen. So you're going to have that ability to group my items. I can see I'm getting my subtotals by columns, and I can move that around if I really want to. So if I want my unit cost over here next to my quantity, I'm going to simply drag and drop that. And again, we're trying to make it as easy as possible for you to be able to start asking those questions to your data. If I want to expand or collapse everything, I can also easily do that. And again, the whole purpose here is to make this as interactive as possible. There's no more right-clicking. You can simply come in here and maneuver the data in how you need. You can pick up transactions that you're wanting to look at, so I can choose that one, and then I can even quickly pop out that customer. And it's going to feel a little bit more laid back than possibly in SmartList Builder. And another major thing that SmartView takes care of is accessing that data outside of GP. So if I close this window, I'm now going to drop down to my desktop. And here we're going to see my SmartView icon. And now this is going to allow users within your network to access SmartList using their Windows ID. So everything that I showed you before, my sales line items, for example, my ability to have favorites, to drag and drop and group on the fly, all of that is going to exist here. I have all of my columns still on the right-hand side. And again, I can drag those in as I want to. All of those filters are still going to be available. But the one thing that won't be available is that go to, as we're now accessing this data outside of GP. So if you do have those users that are out there who maybe currently access GP just for the sole purpose of checking SmartList, well, now they don't have to. Now you can give them that smart view and allow them to sit outside of your GP. And again, it's going back to those key pillars that we discussed. We want to make that data more interactive, real-time, and accessible to your end users. Now, the last product for us to talk about is Popdock. And Popdock is really the evolution of both SmartList Builder and SmartView. And this is going to allow us to take all of the benefits from both products and apply them to our new product, Popdock. And so a demo on Popdock on its own could take a very long time. So I'm just going to go through some key features and show you why we feel it's the evolution of both products together. However, I do encourage you to attend our webinar next month in October, and there we're going to go through a much deeper demo on Popdock. So Popdock is a cloud-based application, as you can see. And through the Popdock portal, you're going to have access to a lot of different types of data. But let me first start out by looking at a list. Like SmartView that I showed before, you're going to have that ability to drag and drop columns, have that ability to group based on something like a city, or have that ability to filter the data. And there's going to be no limitations on the amount of filters that you want. You're also going to be able to mix and match your ands or ors. So we can really make our queries sing here. And now I'm looking at GP data, and this is a GP customer list, but I'm still going to have that ability to add and remove columns, as well as save any favorites and share that to a team. Although these cool features that I really like from SmartList Builder and SmartView, we've actually got a few new ones as well. So first of all, every single list is going to be multi-company by default. So you don't have to drop out to SQL, create a SQL view to have that list be multi-company in nature. All you have to do is add the list to Popdock. And I'll show you in a little bit how that took 0 lines of code to make that work. But if we get back to my single list here, every time you see Skippy skipping here, he's just reaching into whatever the data source is and picking up that data in real time. I also have that ability to export to Excel or a PDF. But what we did here is we took the concept as well of go-tos, and we broke that out into 2 different concepts. So the first concept that I'm going to show you now is called details. So all of these little carrots on the side of the screen here are called details, and this is going to start to give you access to further details on that list. For example, I can take a look at the sales orders, or maybe it's the receivables transactions for this customer. So I'm pulling in ERP data that's going to be related to my ERP customers. But details also allow us to start to pull data from other systems as well. As I told you before, this is our SmartView and SmartList Builder for everything. So now I can take a look here and I can see opportunities coming from my CRM. If I change customers, you'll see that I'll get a different opportunity. This is going to be context sensitive, so it's not even just about ERP and CRM. Here I can even start to pull in support tickets. This is an online REST-based help desk solution that allows me to look at support tickets for this customer. And if I take a look at Alta Manufacturing, I'm again going to get a different ticket as we're pulling in that context-sensitive data. We can also reach out to the internet and use an internet API. So here we are showing a Google Maps. Think about automotive parts, maybe a network supplier of any other web-based API where you can start to pass in that parameter and get back a result. So if you think about everything in this list, I have data coming from 1, 2, 3, 4 different places, all in one single list. That's putting all the information that my users are going to require in one single spot. Now, if you remember from that slide I was showing a minute ago where we started talking about Popdock, I told you that Popdock was SmartView and SmartList Builder for everything all at once. And I am showing everything all at once, and we have data coming from many systems all in a single list. And I can do this by mixing and matching whatever systems that I work with. And we're going to go through the list in a minute of available connectors, but pretty much everything in my infrastructure can be in a single spot at any time. But I haven't talked about everywhere. Everywhere is somewhat covered by the Popdock portal, so I can access my list. And again, this is GP data that I'm exposing through the internet. So unlike the SmartView client where I had to go inside the network, now I can literally go anywhere. There's an internet connection and have access to this data as I need it. I can question that data. I can see the details wherever I am, but there's more to everywhere. So let me jump out to a SharePoint environment here. And now if you notice, Skippy was skipping there in the middle of the screen. And here I've got a Popdock embedded list inside of a SharePoint page. Again, this took 0 lines of codes for me to embed, and it's the exact same list that I had before, but now it's just that data we're embedding here. It has all that same functionality. You're going to be able to filter, have your favorites. You can add in different columns. And again, you're starting to view that opportunity data from your CRM, or maybe it's the tickets. And all of those cool things that I'm showing inside of Popdock now available in SharePoint, but it's not even just SharePoint. It's pretty much anywhere that can accept an iframe. So it's a really good rule of thumb. So if you think about CRM, maybe it's Teams, it could be Salesforce, another system that would accept that iframe. You could be embedding context-sensitive data in. So as far as being the evolution of SmartView goes, I think I've really shown you that from the end user experience, you can start to access that data in any of those systems that you work in. So now if we go through the portal, and we're going to access it through widgets, but first if we look at our connectors, I'm going to click on Add Connector just to show you that we have about 60 plus out of the box. NGP is obviously one of them, but we also have a lot of different online ERPs. We have different CRMs. We have HubSpot, GitHub, Freshdesk. We're going to have a lot of different solutions that you can connect with. We have e-commerce shops as well. And then we also have these two right here. So if I have a REST API, which really covers pretty much about any online applications, about 90% of them use them, you can now start to connect with that system. You've also got SQL Server. And so this will be available as a custom connection. So if you've been on GP for more than a month, I'd say you probably got custom tables out there, or maybe even a custom database of your own. Perhaps you have an inbuilt application for billing or project management, or something along those lines, but we can connect to all of those too and get all of that data out there into Popdock. Now I'm going to quickly take a look at our GP connector so I can show you some of the features that will be available to you. Now, everything about a Popdock connection is going to be customizable by you. So right down to the name of it. Anytime you see a flashy cursor or a drop-down list, that's a value that you're going to be able to change. Now, everything with Popdock is going to start with a list. So I can come in here and we're going to give you 95 out of the box list for GP. And the number of lists will change depending on the connector that you have. But you're also going to have the ability to go into any of these lists and again, customize them. So I can start to add whatever fields I need. If I want to click on an add field, for example, it'll show me any fields that haven't been added yet, and then we can make them available. If I want to add a calculated field, I can come in here and again, do whatever it is that I need to do to get that calculated field in there. We also have 2 different languages. So if you don't know SQL, you can then start to use a Popdock script, which is very similar to Excel formulas. Most accountants pick that up quicker than I did. And then we also have that ability to manage our default fields. And again, we can add any field we want as a default. We can start to move our fields around, and we can also add restrictions to our list. So this would allow us to, for example, show a list of GL transactions, but exclude the payroll accounts. That way, nobody can see the data that they shouldn't see. And those restrictions can actually be used based on users or even teams. So a different team would have, for example, the HR would be able to see the payroll accounts. Maybe the finance team would see it too. But the accounts payables, accounts receivables, sales, none of those folks would see it based on whatever roles you set up in here. We also have the ability to add those details. And I'd like to go into a detail just to show you how it's not going to take any code. It's just about making choices. So you can drop down here, choose what type of record that you want. You can start to choose what type of filters that are put in place to make that detail contextual with your parent list. And that's it. It's just about making a few choices, and within minutes, you can have a really powerful detail and look like a hero to your end users. So again, hopefully you're getting a sense of the flexibility and the ease of use here that goes with it. Now with the list, we can add new base lists as well. So you actually have the ability to add any smart list from your environment. So all of those smart lists that you have built up to date, they're not for nothing. You can actually start to import those as Popdock lists and then expose those to users throughout your organization. We can also pull in any SQL tables and views from either system database or the company database. And if you remember earlier when I was talking about multi-company by default, all you have to do is choose what table or view you want to add and click this box. And that means now that view is going to be available for all my companies. I didn't have to create that SQL view. I used to have to create. And there's even more types of lists that you can start to create. So we have these custom lists. We have the compare, the join. And the cool thing about custom lists is that data can actually start to come from multiple places. So here is a merge list, which is going to start to bring data together from 2 or more lists and put them into a single list. So we're not going to go through all of these different types of lists, but I do want to show you that this is a no-code solution. So here I am starting to combine some of that data from GP and CRM into a single list using a join. And again, all I'm doing is making choices to choose which list I want to merge. Then you're going to start to choose those fields. I added in a restriction here for my data. So all of this combined, again, I can start to mix and match data from across my organization. I can combine payroll system with my general ledger if I wanted. However, again, I'm going to encourage you guys all to attend a full Popdock demo. I know I went through a lot of features really quickly, so we're always happy to do personalized demos, as well as if you join our October one, we're going to go a little bit more deeper into Popdock. But I hope today I was able to show you how we combined both of those features from SmartView and SmartList Builder into Popdock and hopefully make this really accessible and interactive for your users to start to view the data that they need when and where they want it. So as a quick recap of everything we've gone through, we want you to know that eOne has your back and we will support you and your products for the next 10 plus years. So wherever you are on your ERP journey, you can start to use the entire SmartList Suite now and get the most out of your GP data, whether that's sharing GP data with non-GP users, maybe it's accessing GP data in your CRM, SharePoint, or Teams, and putting more power back into the end user's hands. And with our existing connectors, you can get started really quickly and start connecting to more applications with Popdock. And then when you do decide to move ERPs, Popdock and Smart Connect are products that you can bring with you and be one less product that you're going to have to learn. So you're going to be able to bring your favorite SmartList capabilities with you to the cloud, provide you with that life-to-date reporting of combining your historical and new ERP data together in one list, and you can even start to view some of that historical data in your new ERP. Now, if we go through pricing, and as I discussed earlier, with eOne's announcement of supporting GP products for the next 10 plus years, we did bundle SmartList Builder and SmartView under the Popdock business subscription. So this will include your continued access to SmartList Builder and SmartView, but you're also getting that added product of Popdock. And then you're also going to receive a 60% discount for the next 3 years, plus an additional 20% discount for the following 3 years after that. By renewing, you're going to still have that guaranteed product support. We'll still have a customer success team. If there's any more GP updates, we'll also be updating our products. Additionally, you're going to receive 2 monthly support incidents. This is about 10 more incidents than you had previously. And then you will have a few different prepayment discounts that you can work with your Mhance account manager on. So you could prepay for an additional 5% discount. 2 years would be 10%, and 3 is that 15% discount. And then lastly, if you are a current SmartList Builder or SmartView customer, you do have access to Popdock now to be able to trial. If you don't have SmartView and you also wanted to trial that as well, you can definitely do so. So reach out to your Mhance account manager and they'll be able to help you get started or introduce you to our customer success team who would be happy to help you start to connect to GP and start utilizing the products that you have access to. Are there any questions?
Madeline, we don't have any questions actually in the Q&A, so yeah, we'll get off lightly there. Is that the end of the slides? Okay, so I guess just wanted to say a couple of things really. One is big thank you, Madeline, for doing that presentation for us today. We do really appreciate that. I think it's great to see some of the developments from eOne and how we can kind of transition customers from SmartList Builder into other options, but also obviously retaining that support as well is really important. Just to clarify as well, from an Mhance point of view, we have emailed all customers, so you should have all received an email from us around the renewal options for you specifically. If you've got any questions on that, please reach out to us and we will talk you through that, because it's not an automatic renewal process, so we'll talk you through that. And then I guess just finally, just on screen here is just some upcoming events that we are either running ourselves, or we're also putting some events there that we're at. So potentially for this audience, things like the Charity Finance Summit in London that we're at in October, plus also some other sessions in and around Business Central, and as Madeline mentioned, the session that we've got at the end of October, which is delving into much more detail on Popdock. So it'd be great to see as many of you there as possible. But really, yeah, that leaves me just to say again a big thank you, Madeline, a big thank you to everyone that's joined. And if you do have any questions, please feel free to contact your account manager here at Mhance, or you can just drop an email to the sayhello@mhance.com email address, and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.